games, television, and movies. In a world where the media has been dominated by superheroes and sci-fi, these barely Irish assholes must band together to make sense of it all. It's not news. It's utterly nonsense.
Guys, 2023 is finally ending. We're done with this nonsense. Yeah. All we have to do is deal with the elections of 2024. God damn it.
John asked for one moment of silence.
And we immediately got political.
And we immediately all started
Sorry,
talking.
guys.
Sorry, John. Can we actually talk now, or should we?
Yeah. So this is welcome to a very late end of year podcast episode. We probably saved everything that we should have talked about in other episodes for now because we're lazy and we're stupid, and you shouldn't listen to us. That's it. Goodbye.
And we talk a lot of shit.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we are here doing our annual end of the year thing. Not live this time because honestly, we didn't feel like putting all the graphics together and going on camera and everything.
Timing and planning suck. So
Okay, so for anyone who's actually been following the podcast this year, it's been sort of quiet for us. We released two decently, content-packed episodes between What the Fuck Happened to The Flash and What the Fuck Happened to Marvel. So this is sort of concluding
By the way,
What the Fuck Happened series. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many articles and videos came out after ours that basically said the exact same shit and probably got 10 times as many views. But anyway, concluding our What the F*** Happened series, I forget if we're calling this What the F*** Happened to comic movies or What the F*** Happened to movies in general, but...
It's What the F*** Happened to 2013... Wait, no, 2013.
What the F*** Happened to movies
happened to 2023?
Listen, we might have gotten the New Year's drinking started a little bit early. Gonna be honest.
Well, those are for 2023. I don't remember what happened in 2013.
Drinking since 5.
So
essentially...
Anyway...
If you pay attention to movies, or you don't, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of checked out, so I had to look a bunch of this up kind of hastily. You may have noticed that there's been... Oh, no. What am I saying? We've talked about this with the Warner Brothers and the Marvel. Shit's bombing all over the place. Disney stuff is bombing. Things aren't quite what they were in the pre-COVID times, or even just like the past couple years. It seems like things are kind of simmering in the box office department. So we're going to mostly focus on movies here because they have box office numbers, and those are numbers that we can actually see, and they're objective. With opinions and like review scores, and it can get kind of iffy because scores are skewed if you're looking at an audience, and if it's critics, you're either on the side of, yes, I side with critics, or fuck, critics say they don't know anything. How do you even be a professional critic? All you gotta do is watch movies.
It depends on the critic.
So we're gonna focus a little bit less on streaming because the numbers for that are almost never made public, so we can't really quantify their success.
That's fair.
The most you could do is like look at Twitter, Reddit, see what people are saying. But like I said, these are small corners of the internet.
Like, they're reliable.
How can you really get an objective picture?
I was gonna say, now that you mentioned that, what did Disney say that they were? Was it just Wish that they were hiding the rest of the box office revenue for the rest of the year, or was it just in general?
Oh, I don't know. I do have numbers for Wish, though.
No, I hadn't heard either of that. Yeah, I mean, Wish, we'll get into this when you break down the numbers. It's obviously underperforming where they expected it to, so it wouldn't shock me if they were trying to hide that or, curry attention in some other direction.
Speaking of
I hadn't heard
numbers,
about them actually suppressing any numbers, but it wouldn't shock me at this point.
Speaking of FF numbers, how's Rock doing in that court case with Black Adam?
Yeah.
Because I haven't heard nothing on that.
Yeah, let's keep it that way.
All right, fair enough.
So, as far as things with so mostly I should also say that this is focusing on things with big budgets, things that are meant to be, huge marketable products. That's the idea here, right? What the happened to movie franchise product movie things? So in that same similar vein, you could draw some parallels to the video game industry and the ongoing decline of AAA projects, but that kind of goes beyond what we're covering here. So I'll just say that there are some similarities and leave it at that. So, just say I'm full of shit and we'll call it a day. And then as for comic books, because that is the, one out of the four things in our intro. Does anybody read comics here?
I do.
I haven't in a
you read any new ones?
long time. I'm being so honest.
I don't
with any regularity.
So I'm not reading the American publisher. So I'm not reading like DC or Marvel.
So you're strictly going manga at this point, or
manga, Korean, webtoons, stuff like that. Just kind of because Marvel and DC are retconning everything. You don't know whether DC ceased is like still current, or the Justice League dead, or the DC Nightmares, or whatever's going on.
That's honestly fair.
That was meant to be a limited thing. The Nightmare series.
Very fair. I'm going to give you that one, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like comics are basically impossible to follow every single character if you're just trying to be a casual reader.
Especially if you're a Lobo fan. Dear God.
It's an expensive hobby if you're trying to keep up with all of this in real time, and it's not something that most people can conceivably do. At this point, I'm mostly just concerned with collecting, collected editions, omnibuses, things that actually give me the whole story, so I don't have to get every single individual issue from week to week.
Well, like I bought the number 1 of the Hulk. It was supposed to be the Immortal Hulk storyline rebooted or returned, and I forgot what the title of it is, but I saw it in the comic book store when I was looking at Magic cards, and I was like, yeah, I want that. And I grabbed it. It was like $5.99. I was like, number 1s are expensive now.
You know what I'm getting from this is you guys don't read comics, so you're all hack frauds. Goodbye. I'm turning off the podcast.
Look, if it's like a limited run or something that I know is going to have a contained story, I'll spend whatever the $5-6 is per issue, and go for the full thing.
Hey, but, buddy, comics are about other things too.
True.
As I say, comics are also dark. There are also mystery ones. Come on, you read a bunch of other ones, John. Don't give me this shit.
Yes. We have read comics before, but we don't actively keep up with them.
Literally, I was just going to make Detective Comics.
I know you're fucking with us, but I'm fucking right back.
Oh.
Well, look, I think we can all agree that comics are its own medium. It's like TV, movies, podcasts. There's a million different genres that can be captured. It's its own art form at this point, And I don't think there's any disputing that.
Yeah, buddy.
Mike, listen. Don't threaten me with a good time.
Giggity. All right. Now to the that was the nonsense portion of this show. I don't know what just happened, honestly. So, guys, what the hell was 2023? Seriously.
Okay, so John, as you were saying,
right. So we had a lot of things going on. Obviously, the strikes, which we won't go super in depth with today, because I do want to get into the AI aspect of that, but maybe we'll do that in the near future some point. But what I was thinking is you could say like maybe the strikes are a reason for the disruption in the programming. But what I would say is that the strikes are a symptom of something that, let's say, already started before COVID, but the events during COVID kind of accelerated it, because what we had was a shutdown of theaters and TV productions, film productions. Things started to slow, and then as people weren't going to theaters and they were staying at home more, the big companies really started pushing streaming, because people have TVs in their homes, they have phones, they have PCs, they have game consoles. So they say, okay, we could still drive growth in our companies on the streaming front, if not theater, and we can push new content, theatrical quality content, on these services that will get people to subscribe. So, and this is kind of like the overall point, and we can get into the details. People started expecting more and more content to be shoved through streaming, and then eventually, since they are more used to that, they're less inclined to go out to theaters unless it's something that's seen as like a big event, or extra special or more unique maybe, or maybe something indie that people want to support, but that's like, you know, a more niche thing. So because of that, and we can also get into this too, there was a change of guard, I think back in 2020. I think I wrote it down somewhere. There was a changing of the guard at Disney. There was a new CEO, Bob Iger left, and then Bob Chapek came in. And then what I've been seeing, like, you know, around opinion circles, different movie discussion things, is that the sheer volume of content that's been coming out when it comes to like Marvel and Disney stuff is a result of the policies or okayed projects that Bob Chapek had put in place. So blame is kind of going to him for all that. And now you see, like, combined with DC, because Warner Brothers had all these films in the pipeline, and then as we discussed, like at the beginning of this year, or was it the end of last year? Probably both. Is that they're like, okay, we're going to dump all these movies out, just shit them right out, and none of them are going to matter because we're going to restart the brand. So let me tie a knot on it here. You got shit coming through the sewer. It's being forced through. It's all clogged up, and people are getting tired of it, and they're saying, I'll just wait for it on streaming. I'm not paying money for this unless it's really good. So, yeah, that's my summary. And, oh yeah, right, just get back to the strikes, is that they're putting such a stress on people in the industry, saying, okay, writers, write more episodes, VFX artists, animate more scenes. And then you have people going on strike because they want to get paid for the hours that they're getting, and then the AI thing comes into place. They don't want their work erased. The actors don't want their faces erased, and the VFX artists say, "Oh my God, I can't do these 16-hour days anymore. This guy needs to decide what direction he wants to go with the film." There was a whole thing with the new Spider-Verse film where the directors kept like saying, "Okay, redo this scene. No, we want to do this scene now. Do it differently." So so the work of some animators got removed from the film completely, and then they have nothing for their portfolio. So I think specifically the Marvel Studios VFX artists voted to unionize this year, and the same year as the actors and writers strikes, which are now over. And yeah, like I said, we can get into the specifics of that some other time. But more or less, yeah, you got a lot of crap going on. I don't know if I could summarize it any better.
Can I share a detail?
So I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head with that. Yeah, I mean, first of all, yeah, you're right that the Marvel artists did vote to unionize. I think they're the only major studio at this point that has. But yeah, I fully agree with what you just said. I mean, there were a lot of issues with Hollywood, with the whole machine leading up to 2020 and COVID, and that just sort of acted as a zenith. It was a sort of turning point that caused a lot of these symptoms to manifest into a full-blown disease, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry if any of that was incoherent. I'm like getting sick here, so sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying.
I'm recovering.
No, I think you were spot on. I think that was really well spoken.
But
so yeah, I mean, we have the full box office numbers in front of us. It's like you can tell there was a clear decline in Disney's success throughout the last few years, and I don't think that's
yeah. Before we jump into that, Paris, did you want to say something?
Yeah, the Spider-Verse thing. I remember back when that came out, people were like, "Oh, it's so cool that there's like different versions of the movie in theaters." Remember, there was like some people see it as like some versions of it like had like different cuts or showings or scenes would be framed a different way. That was apparently a result of error that came. I heard this. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but
I heard the same thing. Yeah,
it was a result of error because there was just like they ended up releasing multiple versions because of the repeated like do it this way and that way from the director.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean the whole Spider. They were actively making changes to the main cut as it was in theaters, like, and sending out to these theaters. It's like it's almost dystopian in a sense that they can literally make changes to this movie after it's already been released.
Drop some it's so frustrating.
Yeah, but I mean, to John's point, it's like a terrible thing for the animators if they're actively having their work, changed over, and if they're actively seeing that, this final product is nothing like what they originally intended it to be.
You know what it's a lot like?
It's
video games, right? Sure. They come out, they're busted, and then you release the patch, right? Movie's unfinished. We didn't give them enough time because we're rushing the shit out as fast as possible. Don't worry, we'll fix it.
We'll just patch it later. Make money.
People will watch it. They'll go out to see it. They won't even notice, but, or maybe they might. But then we'll just send the updated version to the theaters a week later.
So, like that Dave Chappelle video. Why? Because fuck them. That's why.
So, before you guys get into box office numbers, since we were talking about post-COVID and everything that's been happening with streaming since, just to dial it back quickly, 20 years ago. So, this is just focusing solely on Disney. So movies kind of, have come out a lot more quickly now with their modern age. We have things either released on streaming. We have multiple. Disney owns how many different companies now, so they're producing multiple.
They own ESPN,
yeah,
dude.
Well, even Warner Brothers, but Warner Brothers has always been kind of like a multi-company, studio company.
AOL, Time Warner. Wasn't there another
potentially Paramount
AT&T
next year?
Maybe. No, I don't know.
So in 2003, Disney released about 20-something movies with their with Dimension Films, Miramax Films, Touchstone Pictures, which included Lilo and Stitch, Treasure Planet, Spy Kids 3D, Pirates of the Caribbean, the Curse of the Black Pearl. They even were
single movie.
Holes.
Holes was great.
So these are movies that they were. Oh, Brother Bear. They released all these movies within that time of the year, but they weren't competing with streaming. There wasn't like all these other companies that were releasing all this stuff at the exact same time on all these different. You went to a theater to see this. Mm-hmm. So we all know that between Lilo and Stitch, and Treasure Planet, which one is the one that clearly did well in theaters and became a household name? Because 20 years later, they're still in Disney World, and Treasure Planet's fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, why would that be?
It's very Stitch is an adorable creature, and Treasure Planet hits home with really heavy issues.
His family.
But now, these movies were really easy to gauge because, like you said, there's box office numbers, and there's sales, there's toy sales, stuff like that. We don't really get that anymore, right? Like, not every movie has toy sales. Every kid movie doesn't always have toy sales anymore. And who wants toys? We have electronic stuff.
Isn't that why Star Wars got popular?
Pretty much. Star Wars.
That was a big reason in the 70s.
Yeah, because George Lucas himself even said, I'm not a storyteller, I'm a toy maker. Or whatever the hell. Something like that.
You know what it was? I think I'm trying to remember something I read is that
because I know I'm not crazy right now.
He was negotiating for the distribution rights to Star Wars, and I believe the negotiation originally with Star Wars was he would give 20th Century Fox the distribution rights to the films as long as he retained all the rights to Star Wars merchandise, because they thought that they were just taking a small risk on something that really wasn't going to take off. That isn't until Disney bought it and people started losing interest in the merch.
So,
guys, did you hear there was merch in the store?
Paris also mentioned this earlier when I asked him about if he had seen the Haunted Mansion, because he had told me that he's never heard of it. But he mentioned it.
In fact, that's my best friend Delilah's favorite movie of all time. Shout out to Delilah. I love you, girl.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, the Eddie Murphy version came out in 2003. Well, Disney just released another Haunted Mansion 20 years later in 2023. Do you guys know how much the 2003 made?
Shit.
The budget was $90 million, and it made $182.3 million at the box office.
This is the original, correct?
Yep. The new one had a budget of $150 million, and the box office was $117.5 million.
Oh, dude.
But again, we can't include the streaming numbers because it did get released on the streaming really quickly afterwards.
I distinctly remember that too. So I was like, wait a minute.
So before we go into the numbers, I really think that streaming is the downfall of media.
I mean, streaming services are literally going like, oh, we're going to have to start putting on ads soon. I'm like, did you guys forget the reason why we stopped watching cable?
No. I would still watch movies on AMC. I would watch movies on Sci-Fi. I would do that and watch the commercials because it wasn't killing the art, I feel. I feel like streaming is killing what we had because it's all available now. It's no, you gotta wait till 8 p.m. to watch it.
No, it's definitely a double-edged sword. And I mean, I think that was always a risk with like this rise of asynchronous media. The fact that people would become dependent on that sort of now factor.
How could you not? Convenient.
And I mean, look, I feel like there are some obvious corrections to that, right? Like you could definitely space out the release times. You could promote certain content at certain times. But yeah, I mean, to your point, I think people became much more dependent on streaming during the pandemic. And because of that, you're just seeing less of an interest in theatrical releases because people realized, oh, we can actually live without this. So how do we get back to that if we want to get back to that?
I don't know if you could draw a one-to-one, but I remember reading just a little bit about that. Remember when we were talking about Thanksgiving and I mentioned the grindhouse theaters?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so part of what I was reading, is probably Wikipedia or something, was saying that the idea of like a small single-screen theater where you'd go and watch a couple things over like the course of an afternoon, like they show, or I guess not even grindhouse, just regular theaters. They show like the cartoons for the kids, and then they show the A movie, B movie. That's where that term came from. It's like the main attraction film, and then another one that was lower budget that they just stuck in there. This was before televisions, but now that then when they got televisions in the home, hey, I could see all this stuff. I don't even have to leave. So then, like away went all the small single screen theaters because people are staying home, and it's kind of happening again.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean,
man. It was just... I'm sorry.
No, I mean, that was definitely the end of an era. I think we're very much facing the same thing now. It's just on a very different scale. The thing is, I mean, I don't think you can do without the theatrical release because it's like, I mean, that's ultimately how these companies make money, is theatrical releases. Streaming, you're only getting a set number of dollars per month based on subscriber counts. But that's really going to be pretty much static from month to month. I mean, long term, they need to find some way of rebounding that income if they're getting rid of, theatrical releases, or if they're sticking strictly with a streaming model. Realistically, yeah, I'm not sure how you get back to that without like really making some drastic changes to the industry.
Yeah, because like if you think about TV, the way it works, which I'm sure everybody knows, but I'll just explain it very quickly anyway, is when a show gets ratings, that attracts advertisers to buy airtime, and that's kind of how they recoup their costs, right? Either
or
that,
toys.
Or they sell the rights, and this is a thing that's going on with streaming a lot. They sell the rights to the like syndication, I think you call it, of the certain show off to another network so that the network can show that series on their channel, and if people watch it on their channel, then that network can then sell airtime for ads. It was all about ads. So like basically
from Mattel.
The production cost of making a TV show is recouped by selling ad space, but with streaming, you don't have that. They're starting to introduce ad back plans. I think maybe Netflix or somebody got rid of it though. But they're talking about introducing that because when you have a streaming series, it's kind of like the funding of it is almost faith-based. Like they have faith that if they make it and that it's good enough, people will pay for the service. But it's like the more and more they invest, like what Disney's doing, more shows. Between, I wrote it down somewhere, between like 2021 and the release of the Marvels, they had eight new Marvel alone streaming series come out, and that was in 2 seasons of Loki. So it's like, are they really recouping the costs through subscriptions alone? So maybe they're starting to realize we need to start putting ads on it because we're not making the money back fast enough.
So I mean, the only ads...
That's their own damn fault, though.
Yes.
So I was going to say the only ads I've seen on Disney Plus so far are ads for Disney Plus shows, and they're always in the beginning of the program. But yesterday, Prime Video included limited advertisements onto all the programs, which Prime Video is already a complicated streaming network. You go on, they'll tell you included with Prime, then it's buy or rent, and then it's subscribe to this streaming network, subscribe to this streaming one. I don't have any other streaming network that tells me to subscribe to another streaming network through them to watch the program.
Yeah, I mean, Prime's the weird one because it functions more like, you know, an old school video store than it does a like network television channel, right? Like, it's ultimately telling you, oh, you can rent this movie or buy this movie and it's yours forever, or yours as long as you're on this platform. Or, you know, you can go somewhere else, right?
Or if you're Sony, it's only until they lose the rights.
Every other streaming platform, it's their own content. Amazon pretty much pulls from everywhere. You can find anything on Amazon Prime if you're willing to pay for it.
John, were you talking about how PlayStation had to remove those films, TV shows that people bought? So, so with Target and Best Buy removing physical with them removing physical media from their stores, so that's another way these studios made money, was with, you know, physical sales of the movies.
I almost forgot about that. Or I did forget about that. Good bringing that up.
So with all this, you know, virtual sales, these movies aren't actually yours to, like, especially if you buy it through Amazon or Vudu, they're only yours as long as they're allowed to still have the rights to sell it.
Well, what they do is they're supposed to honor it. Like, even if they lose the rights to sell the films, they're still supposed to be allowed to, like, you know, let you keep watching it, to let you keep streaming it. Like, another thing with games, do you remember the Deadpool game that came out a while back?
Yeah, the 2013 one.
I never played it myself, but I know of the game.
So there was a Deadpool game, couple Spider-Man games, Transformers games, a bunch of things that were licensed to Activision that were available on digital platforms, Xbox, PlayStation Network, Steam, but then they lost the license and they were taken off those platforms. So you could no longer buy them on there, but if you had bought it, you could still play it. Now, what happened with the PlayStation Network with the movie is like, if you bought a game and then it's like, oh, we lost the rights to sell it, and also we're taking it out of your game library. Sorry. What is that shit?
Yeah, no, that's bullshit. You know, honestly, at this point, like, I don't do a lot of console gaming anymore just because I made the whole switch to PC during the pandemic, and, you know, most of my library is on there. But, you know, anytime I buy something for PS4, PS5, I completely avoid the Sony store. Like, you know, if you go to your local GameStop, you can probably get the same game for a fraction of the price, you know, assuming it's not something brand new.
I mean, it depends.
And look, ultimately, it makes more sense to stick with the physical media if you can get it for gaming consoles. Because, I mean, John's absolutely right. As soon as they lose the rights to these games, you're pretty much fucked if you bought it through the PlayStation Store or the Xbox Store.
They still get you with that, though, because... Yeah, and I know what you're going to say, Mike, but they still get you with that because sometimes usually what they'll do now is they'll only put a small piece of the game on the disc because disc capacity is not, I guess, anywhere needed to fit these gigantic games like Call of Duty, 200 gigabytes. First of all, what is all that? But second, they're not fitting that on the disc. You have like a small pointer file or something where when you put it in the disc in the console, it says, okay, now downloading the rest of the game. Or they'll do the thing where it's always online and you can't play the game offline. So it's like if the servers or the service or whatever gets shut down, let's say you bought the game.
Multiverses.
Say you bought a physical version of the game off eBay like 5 to 10 years from now, but like they shut the servers down for the game, and it was something where you needed the day one patch. You're probably not going to be able to play it.
Was it just recently? I think it was this racing game. The first one released back, I forgot what, I'm blanking on the name, but it was a racing game that released like 10 years ago. They just deleted the servers for it, so there's going to be no other way to play that game because it was like an online only game. Yep, so you can't even play it like offline anymore.
Just to clarify, I think John knew it, but I was just going to say this is not only for Sony. This is for any network that you can buy your digital content from.
I think I just mentioned Sony because that's what I'm familiar with, but I know it's the same thing.
I was clarifying for anyone that's not listening correctly.
That is a great movie. Wow.
I thought you were going to mention that the thing with PlayStation was, I think it was like a movie or two.
Oh, it was like 1,000 things.
Oh, was it? I thought it was only like a couple.
There was a big,
exactly.
A lot of people were upset because that's what it is. But I saw like the debate on this like spark up like a week or so ago because Sony made this big like, we're deleting all these things, and people were like, well, that means all these things people pay for, like even like stuff that like they own, it's just gone, even if it's not even like an online only thing.
Yeah, I do expect that they'll get sued for at least some of that because, like, I'm pretty sure there's something somewhere that's got to say you have to honor the ownership of these things.
Not legally. not for any of these people. It's on the terms and conditions. Because everything I was reading to you is from what site was it? It was a lawyer site. But yeah.
It was a lawyer's site.
It's so it's all content licensing agreements, and we all agree to it when we purchase these things in the terms and conditions. That's why we have to read these things.
Well,
read quote unquote.
Technically, when you buy a disc, say for a movie, when you buy a disc for a movie, that is like a licensed ownership because it's like the disc has the license built into it because DVD and Blu-ray players have some kind of DRM built into them.
I mean, if you look at the actual, any DVD you play at the beginning, it'll have like terms and conditions when you go into it. It's just not those kind of terms, right? Like, okay, there will be things against privacy. There will be explicit things as to what you can and cannot do with this copy of the disc. But the point is, you're basically just buying a copy of whatever form of media that you're actually going to play with. Versus
you don't own the media. You just own like the ability to play a copy of it. But the thing is that, of course, you have it forever and always. But digital stuff...
Well, unless you lose the disc or something burns up or the medium becomes obsolete, or if it's it blows up, it's only just a copy.
I was going to say, so this is in the... so the website I was looking at was the New York Times, but the thing that they were posting was from the Fandango/Vudu Terms of Service, which is when you order review content and pay any applicable fees, you will be granted a non-exclusive, non-transferable, non-commercial, limited license to access, use, or view the content in accordance with any usage rights contained herein and additional terms that may be provided with your devices and or with such content usage rights. And then apparently it just keeps going and it shows you all the other different, like here's Google's version, here's Amazon's. So it's in their agreement that when you buy this stuff, and Amazon will not be liable to you if you purchase content and it becomes unavailable for further download or streaming. So they have us by the fucking balls. Like, you either pay for the streaming network to watch what you want to watch. Yeah. You buy it again and again and again. They take away the physical copies. So you have to keep buying it now. Even though people were already buying this shit. You release The Little Mermaid every fucking 5 years. Go take it out of the vault. Someone's like, give me!
Yeah.
And now... Sorry.
This is what pisses me off about streaming rights, because as I was saying with syndication, that's a thing with all of the different Netflix alternatives too. So I'll use a say personal example, Star Trek stuff, right? So Paramount Plus, the brand owns all the rights, movies and television now, to Star Trek, but because they want to capitalize on earnings, what they'll do sometimes is they'll take like a bunch or all of the Star Trek movies, take them off Paramount Plus, and they'll go on another service because guess what? They sold the temporary licensing rights to another streaming service because that's more profitable than keeping it on their own service in the hopes that people subscribe to watch it.
Oh yeah, that's been going on for years though.
So it's like you sign up to something thinking, okay, this is what they have. This is what I'm subscribing for. That's great. I'll put it on my list. I'll watch it maybe a few months from now. I don't know. Then you go back. You finally get around to it. Where is it? Where'd it go? They own the rights. Why is it gone? Because they wanted money. That's all.
So my other problem with fucking
all about that coin
is holidays. Halloween comes around. HBO, Max, Peacock, all of them. They're suddenly like, hey, come watch Halloween. Come watch it. Come watch this. Come watch this. And then after October, those movies are gone. You can't watch them on any streaming network. Now it's just to purchase. At Christmas, Home Alone, The Grinch, all of them come back out. They're all suddenly available again. But then they're gone right afterwards again. You can't stream them for the rest of the year. They just come out for that time. And then the prices go up on every single fucking network too for that during that time. You go to buy The Grinch on Amazon, $10. You go to buy it during the summer, $2.99.
Yeah, they know.
Well, that's just basic economics at that point.
Well, yeah,
right?
but
demand.
It happens all the time, though. Well, okay, so Disney has been one of the best ones that doesn't. Well, okay, you're not going to see Invincible on Netflix. You're not going to see. You're not going to see Snow White over on. Well, I don't know. Well, you'll see one of the Snow Whites over on Max. Not typically the 1938 one. But
yeah, I just that just took me a second. I just realized what you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's all supply and demand. I mean,
it was like
all these platforms have
the like something Hunter, whatever the fuck.
Well,
yes,
look, all of these sources have content that's developed directly for the respective streaming service. All of them have licenses that are unique to those specific platforms. That's really where sort of the eyeballs are coming from. Like the reason you'd want to be on Disney Plus versus say Netflix is because all of the Disney shit is on Disney Plus, right? Like that's what's ultimately driving people to that platform. So, I mean, that's never going to change. As long as you have individual media companies running individual platforms, they're going to want content that's unique to that platform.
We need content.
But is it going to work the same way as like, so for the Batman, the one from last year with Robert Pattinson, it is on Netflix right now.
Yeah,
because
which
again,
also I'm wondering where that came from. I guess it's WB like trying to basically cash in on these properties.
So they ship that off. But when Invincible or The Boys gets stale, right? Like let's say The Boys ends, no one's buying Prime anymore to fucking watch The Boys. Maybe, but it's not going to get the numbers you're going to want. So are they going to ship it off?
That type of draw, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, hypothetically, they could say, "Oh, hey, it's a special, like, limited release on Netflix. The Boys on Netflix. Go check it out there and relive all the great seasons of television you loved years ago." Right? At that point, yeah, I mean, maybe it's profitable to do it in the short term, but I mean, at that point, it's still their content. They would only do that after there's no value for them to derive on their own platform, when there's no one coming to Amazon Prime for The Boys.
So, just one last thing I want to mention.
Why would you?
That's really split up, and maybe Paris understands this. Pokemon. Pokemon is on every single streaming network, just about. But none of it is duplicate. Like you can watch the Indigo Plateau, the original series, on Netflix, but you can watch Johto on. I think it's either Voodoo. No, not Hulu. It's either Hulu or
these fucking names.
Voodoo,
or Prime.
Do what?
Voodoo that you do.
Tubi?
Jack is like on drugs.
You remind me of the man.
Sorry. Yeah, Jack's been drinking heavily, as I said at the beginning.
Not too heavily, but I'm just having fun right now.
It's just so split up. There's no point to it being split up like this. Just one network, but it doesn't change either. They're not rotating. It hasn't rotated. It's just been split, and I don't know who owns the rights to all these different seasons.
You know what's going to happen now, Mike? You're going to have to buy the Super Deluxe Streaming Bundle Package, the special Pokemon trademark exclusive holiday season special package edition to get, say, Max with Netflix, or you're going to get Paramount with Disney. Or was it Disney? I don't know. But you're going to get the bundles, and it's going to be like your cable bundles. And you're going to get the Pokemon bundle. Yes, I can watch Pokemon. And they sold the rights.
What? John. You missed the simplest joke you could have made here, buddy.
Yes.
You could have said, you guys subscribe to them all. To catch them all.
Gotta sub them all.
I thought you just had to
subscribe to them all. Gotta subscribe to them all. I got nothing. No, fuck it.
Okay, so
this turned into a rant about streaming, but yes, you know what? I agree overall. Streaming is killing a lot of things.
Pokemon now.
So I mean, we can go through and read every single number here, but and again, we have all of these numbers in front of us from every major release from the past 5 years from each of these studios. I mean, across the board, 2019.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't count.
And the fact is, it supports exactly what we're saying. Like the point we made at the very beginning of this podcast. 2019, Disney especially had record box office grosses. Marvel was at its peak. You had multiple properties grossing over $1 billion a piece, and those numbers dropped rapidly between. I mean, 2020 is understandable, right? You had COVID, you had theater closures all throughout the country, all throughout the world. That was to be expected, right? But then it really hasn't rebounded to those pre-2019 numbers since. If anything, it's sort of maybe had a little bit of a flux in 2021, but then just went rapidly back down to where we are now.
Yeah, 2021, at least for Marvel. You had Spider-Man, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna see Spider-Man because I want to see Spider-Man, and everything else can just get fucked.
Yeah.
But what about Spider-Them?
Yes.
But I'm chill. So, I mean,
no shame. Sorry, I needed to.
So I want to keep with John's notes here just because he has the structure to it. Yeah, I mean, I think Disney would basically set our pace. Pre-COVID, Disney was nearly unstoppable. Because you had this push with Disney Plus, audiences became used to seeing theatrical level content on television, which obviously, made the whole theater going experience much less of a draw. And I think we really haven't come back from that, especially given the content that Disney's put out in the last few years. It's just nothing that you really want to go to a theater for. It's nothing you can't wait for streaming for.
Yeah.
No. So anything to add about Disney, or do you want to talk about Marvel some more?
Let me just read the thing I wrote down for Marvel because it was probably more coherent than anything we've said. I'll just read it fast. I wrote, since Endgame, Marvel has been a pendulum swing from it's over to we are so back. It would seem that there's enough of a franchise fatigue in even the general audience now that the brand label itself is no longer enough to sell every feature with numbers like they were doing before COVID, which was like 600 million to $1 billion every single film. All the streaming series releasing back to back between the films have only exacerbated the problem in multiple ways. As I said, Bob Chapek is taking the blame for all the oversaturation. He took over in 2020 when COVID started, and then was replaced by Iger in November of last year, 2022. And in addition to making everyone disinterested with all this crap coming out constantly, Disney was probably a major instigator in the issues raised by the strikes. So, and then you had the thing with the VFX artists, like I said before. So everyone from the creatives behind these productions to even the audiences consuming it are like, listen, you gotta stop, okay? It's just too much. We can't deal with it. Enough is enough already. Come on. So, yeah. Between untenable demands of the talent and just, here, you want this, you want this, you want this, and maybe in a smaller way, like the lack of marketing because of the actors' strikes, you didn't have people around to go on press tours, contributed to less awareness. So it's multiple things. But like I said, the strikes are a symptom of this larger issue, which COVID just put into overdrive.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think saying it's pendulum swing is probably pretty much the most accurate way you could describe Marvel right now. I mean,
it's over.
Really, every project has been either peak MCU or the Marvels.
We're so not back.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you have legitimately good products still coming out of Marvel. I still think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was one of the best movies I've seen this year. I think Loki Season 2 was good. I think What If Season 2 was good. But then you've also got, Quantumania just being incredibly underwhelming. You've got Secret Invasion just being a mess. You've got the Marvels basically being something that no one wanted and no one saw.
And Captain Marvel made over $1 billion. I still say it's because they lied and said she was going to be the greatest thing ever, and then she had all of 5 minutes in the.
Well, I mean, we've talked about Captain Marvel to death, but I mean, the thing is, the average MCU fan does not care about this character, and they're basically insisting on making a sequel that no one really wanted a sequel to.
Monica Rambeau, don't you know that character? Famous character, Monica who?
Listen,
what?
And obviously, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, from what I understand again, I know John says reviews. I mean, the audience scores and all that kind of stuff don't really matter.
Well, they're harder to track, harder to objectively gauge.
Just from some viewpoints I've seen online, mostly as comments, is that when people actually go to see it, it's not great. It's not a fantastic movie. It's not as bad as Morbius, but people like it. They're like, well, it's not a letdown like Ant-Man was.
Yeah,
which
I got that
kind of
which Ant-Man,
the last one,
Quantumania,
buddy.
I liked that one, but I mean, there was some obvious issues. But
yeah, I mean, look, we talked about this during the What the Fuck Happened to Marvel episode.
Yeah. But I have my opinions. You can watch that previous episode. So
I mean, the thing with the Marvels was, look, I haven't seen it yet. I can't really judge the quality of the movie itself.
Even you haven't seen it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll see it when it comes to Disney Plus, but it's like,
there you go.
You look at the trailer, I had no desire to see this movie in theaters. I don't care about Captain Marvel in the slightest. Ms. Marvel and Monica Rambeau are both more interesting characters, but they're really not leads to a project like this, right? But the trailer itself just made the movie look underwhelming and forgettable.
I'm going to watch it since it's on streaming, but
yeah, same.
Since we went to see The Flash, I have not been in a theater because I
have not. Yeah, same. I really haven't.
I'm just tired.
Fucked me up.
Well, no, I'm tired. I'm tired of going to the movies and them like hyping things up, like, oh, it's gonna be this. Like, you have to come see this blockbuster event of the year. Like, Transformers looked good. Indiana Jones, it looked good at first. I know that everyone hates it now, but
yeah,
it just everything looked
exactly
good.
What it is.
And it's been so disappointing more often than not that I will watch things on streaming and be like, well, at least it cost me 2 hours of my time that I was either jacking the fuck off for anyway, or I was eating.
Oh,
so, like,
I was about to say, what about me?
I mean, that's exactly what it is. And I don't know if it's just me getting older and becoming more cynical towards the product that Hollywood is putting out, or if it's just them putting out worse products. But I feel like I'm seeing fewer and fewer movies every year that I'm genuinely excited to go to the theater to see. 2022, like looking at Marvel alone, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Thor: Love and Thunder, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, all, pretty good looking movies going into it. Nothing that was peak Marvel, but, good movies. This year, you don't have that nearly as much. I mean, Guardians Volume 3 was one thing to conclude the trilogy, but that was about it. And it speaks to a larger problem in the industry in that there's fewer and fewer movies every year that sort of fit that mold. I mean, Thanksgiving, sort of, I wanted to see just because of our shared history with it, but yeah, I mean, that's about it. It was just sort of a shitty year for movies.
Yeah. I think it goes back to the streaming because I didn't want to see them. I don't have to go see them. They're going to be on streaming at some point.
You notice
but
now.
Does it make it good though? Just because they're going to be on streaming, it doesn't change the quality that they're releasing these movies with though. I think it's just part of the content machine. They're pushing too much. These companies.
I mean, it's, I think, two distinct problems. And I mean, you're right that the whole streaming model makes it seem like all of these are less consequential to see in theaters. But at the same time, the fact that they're pushing content out as fast as they are, and again, we made this point during Marvel, so I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I mean, the fact that they're pushing out this much content this quickly is clearly problematic. You're just going to have less of a draw. You're going to cause less interest. You're going to cause shoddier workmanship.
Yeah, well, Sony has to catch up, right? Because they got 3 things coming out next year. You got Morbius 2, Morbius 3, and then Venom 3.
And then Morbius 4 following shortly thereafter.
Which one?
It's Morbin time.
Oh, yeah, right. Actual Morbius 2. No, I meant Madam Web and Craven. Is anyone even looking forward to?
Yeah, so let's see. Craven, I think, just looks like an absolute flash in the pan piece of shit.
Madam Web. I was like,
it looks like they tried to make
for this. Even I love Marvel to death. I was like, there's nothing for this for me. I was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, I mean, Madam Web. The trailer didn't look terrible, but it also didn't look like any sort of it looked like a mid 2000s superhero movie mixed with a mid 2000s it was probably like a chick book that made it into a movie. Like, what was the movie with Will Ferrell where his whole life story is being written by some random author? That it has that sort of vibe to it,
Her web connects them all.
So
yeah, and also just I don't think Sony understands marketing from a movie making perspective anymore. Like that was also just one of the worst posters I've ever seen for a major motion picture.
Oh, right, the one of just Dakota Johnson's face heavily airbrushed.
Her web connects them all.
Yeah, with an overlay.
Any college student in a graphic design class could make a better poster. How the fuck did that make it past
Eric made a better poster for Steve.
Literally, the Steve poster was better than that. I mean, what the fuck?
Sorry, I'm doing Eric injustice by comparing him to that slop.
Leaving the comic even just for next year, like the Mean Girls musical that they're making. They're not even advertising it as the musical because they think people won't go see it otherwise.
I didn't realize it was a fucking musical. I thought it was just a straight reboot of the original
movie. It's not. It's the musical from Broadway. Just like Wonka.
If they sold that aspect of it. People like musicals. People like Broadway. That's a selling point. Why wouldn't
that's what happened with Wonka. People went to see Wonka thinking it was a prequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
It's a fucking musical. Yeah.
It's the musical.
I didn't even know that.
No, I mean, I knew that just because I saw people on Twitter talking about how, oh, it's a musical, guys. But yeah, I mean, if you were just looking at the trailers, you would have no way of knowing that. I don't know. I feel like trailer making as an art form too. Like, there's so many houses that make trailers that just seem to be dropping the ball. It was much more of a marketing tool back in the 2000s. So what the fuck happened there? Like, you have such an easier way of distributing these things now. Why are you getting away from that?
Now, clearly, 2023 had some promise still with movies because Barbie.
Yes.
Which
now,
again,
is it
that
great?
Speaks to the whole.
I liked it.
Is it great?
It was fine. Like, again, for the actual cultural impact and for the marketing, like for the levels to which they tried to make it a cultural icon, no, it wasn't that great of a movie. It was fun. It was perfectly watchable, but I don't think it was anywhere near as good as you would be led to believe based on the critical reviews.
It was a completely organic marketing fluke with the release of that, and obviously Oppenheimer. It's just
another movie.
The ironic juxtaposition, and then memes, right? Yeah. Memes sell things. They try desperately to make memes catch on, but it's, and I'll just use the tired phrase, it's lightning in a bottle. You can't really predict when it's going to happen. It just happens sometimes. Although, I mean, they must have known that they were scheduling it on the same date as another major film, but maybe they figured it's such a different demographic, it doesn't matter. And yet, memes happen.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, both movies benefited from that whole cultural impact. I mean, Oppenheimer was one of Christopher Nolan's best. I think it was his best grossing movie since Dark Knight Rises, right?
I fully agree with that. Oppenheimer was one of the best movies I've ever seen that is not Marvel or DC related in any regard. It's so goddamn good.
First of all, I think
if you disagree with that, you're not paying attention. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the best biopics I've ever seen, if not one of the best movies.
Incredible. All the sex scenes very unnecessary. Sorry, I'm saying that much.
Well, I mean,
very unnecessary and weird. You ask me.
They made Florence Pugh attractive for that movie.
Didn't you want to see Black Widow's sister?
Yeah.
What's more
She's
sexy
hot.
than,
All right. Whatever.
What's more sexy than
I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I said it was unnecessary.
No, I mean, you're not wrong.
My words.
That's the point.
But then we also saw franchises. We also got proof again that franchise name doesn't sell. Like The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songs and Songs.
That's right.
It has not done well.
I literally remember because John and I were seeing Thanksgiving, at Thanksgiving, and they mentioned, "Oh, hey, are you guys here to see The Hunger Games?" Oh, that's out.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, wait, what? They made another?"
We have,
yeah.
We have We have the last DCEU movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which
I still haven't seen either, but I do want to see it. Like, I still think the first Aquaman was probably one of the best solo films of the DCEU, and doesn't get as much respect as it probably deserves. So, I mean, the fact that there's a sequel from this billion-dollar movie that no one is really going out to see, and I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm assuming it's sort of bombing, right?
Right now, as of it's been out 2 weeks ish.
Yeah,
1 week.
So it's
one.
Slightly outgrows Shazam 2, but I mean, at this point, it's probably not going to do significantly better. Like The Flash,
Wonka made more than it,
and that was considered a bomb. Yeah, I mean, and part of that comes down to the whole "what the fuck happened to the Flash" episode we did. Like, people are just not interested in seeing anything DCEU related at this point because nothing is consequential. It's because James Gunn basically took over the DC universe and basically said, "Oh, none of these things matter. Why are you even going to see it?
None of these actors will come back.
Burn it all down."
Except John Cena.
Burn it all down.
Yeah.
Burn it all down.
Burn it down.
I'm seeing new shit. That's all. Which, what are the odds that Superman Legacy just bombs at the box office because people just have gotten over DC because of the damage the DCU did?
Why? Because Superman is boring?
How dare you, sir? Take it back.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, you guys
said this last episode. I'm standing on my business.
So
I know what you want to see. You want to see Homelander, right?
No, he's lame too. He couldn't do shit compared to Superman. He literally picks on the people that he knows he can mess up, and if anybody rivals him in power, he literally cowers like a child. He is lame, bro.
Okay,
he's not him.
You're saying this because you watched the Death Battle. with Omni-Man.
No, because shit. All right, fucking got me.
Okay,
but I'm
gonna go through.
Not.
I'm gonna go through these quickly, just because we can talk about DC afterwards and Marvel. But nostalgia. The original Chicken Run was only $42 to $45 million budget. The box office it made $227.8 million in 2000. The sequel, they released it on Netflix. Was that a great plan?
I didn't even realize it came out. I knew they were making a sequel. I didn't even realize it came out, and that was one. I knew
it came out. I just haven't watched it yet.
Clearly, Indiana Jones did not do great. But we also saw that other franchises based in video games can do well, and this is where Paris would come in because Mario did fantastic.
Really?
Mario Wonder was incredible.
Not Mario Wonder. We're talking about movies, buddy.
Oh yeah,
he's playing Mario Wonder right now.
Oh shh! Don't tell him.
I can hear you clacking the buttons. No, give me that.
Yeah, I literally hear your keyboard, Paris.
So I mean, we've already talked about DC just becoming a failed product. Sony, look, the universe is still not gotten off the ground. I don't think releasing 3 more Morbiuses is really going to make a difference.
Morbi?
Yeah, I guess that would be the plan.
More Morbs!
Venom has been the one successful product, and even that is sort of I mean, look, compared to the other movies in the franchise, it's doing pretty well.
Yeah. Venom 2?
Venom 2, yeah. Then Across the Spider-Verse, look, it was clearly a step down from the first one, but, I don't think you can really improve upon the first one, so whatever. It was still watchable. I mean, the third one... And, they said the third one was going to be released a year after the second one, which obviously was never going to happen, but it speaks more to the labor conditions and the fact that they're expecting more out of their talent than they could possibly be expected to perform. Whatever. Sony is Sony. I mean, what else can you really say? When I first started jotting out my notes for this, I was going to talk about how, Amazon was churning out Invincible and The Boys and all these other comic book properties that aren't Marvel and DC, and how those are critically really well received, and how that might be the future of this, sort of section of the industry.
Well, but if they franchise off, then what's to stop that from becoming the same thing? I would say The Boys, I finally watched it. Very unique, right? Great satire. It really isn't... It doesn't even fit in the superhero genre, per se. That's just the background for it. But everything else it explores is, kind of political, sociological. But then now they have Gen V. I know they did some animated thing, but I didn't watch that.
Yeah, Diabolical. It was sort of forgettable, honestly.
I watched Gen V, and the first few episodes, I was like, okay, this is very much like The Boys. I'm on board with it. But then they started veering off into kind of CW territory, following all these, young college-age kids, and they got all the teen angst problems and relationships and love triangles and who's lying, she's lying, they're lying, secrets, oh no. And I'm like, yeah, I've seen enough of this. I've seen enough Arrow. I've seen enough Flash and all that junk.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly exactly where I was with it, too. The first half made me actually really engaged with it, really seemed like its own thing, wanted to see where it built from here. And then they just sort of blew that momentum. I still like these characters. I still would gladly see a sequel, a season 2 to it. But at the same time, you've got an unnecessary Boys cameo. I'm not spoiling it for anyone who hasn't seen Gen V, but whatever.
I haven't either, so I was like, oh, well.
So, yeah.
Yeah. You're getting messages.
Yeah, sorry. I thought I had shut this off, but let me...
I thought that was me for a second. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Sorry.
To non-superhero stuff, we have John Wick 4. John Wick still makes money because Keanu Reeves, I don't know, people like him.
But it's done now, so...
Well, we'll see. Fast X, the 10th one. They said they were going to stop at 10, but obviously they're not. Now, this one made... You could say a lot, $714 million, but it cost, and this is not including advertising, however much of it there was, cost was listed as $340. So basically, it just broke even, and for a Fast and Furious, that doesn't seem right. For something that big with all the stars, all the cars. So I'd say maybe interest is waning in that a bit. Indiana Jones 5, that cost astronomical amount. 300 million, only made 384. Bang, you're out.
I was just going to say real quick, John Wick 4, they also are making The Continental on Peacock, which is, a series set in the same universe. They're clearly not done churning out content from that universe, and it's going to sparkle off into its own franchise if we don't do anything to stop it. Continue.
Yeah, so Transformers, I think somebody mentioned that didn't do too well. 200 million cost, 439 million earning. That's kind of like this territory where you had what was it called? Mad Max Fury Road, Tron Legacy, things that make around. Oh, and Pacific Rim, the first one.
Sorry, are these costs just the production budget or marketing too?
Just production.
Okay.
They're like expensive to make, and then they make around 400-something million, so they're like break-even-y, but not enough to say, okay, yes, next one right now. Here's a funny one. Mission Impossible 7 almost cost 300 million, but then they got some kind of COVID insurance payout, so it cost less. That didn't do as well as they hoped, but part 2 is coming anyway. We mentioned Hunger Games, we mentioned Wonka. Hey guys, did you know Expendables 4 came out? Who?
I knew it. That it came out.
I know it because
Yeah.
I know it because I saw it.
Who was in that?
Was anyone we would actually know in that movie, or was it all just B-listers that we've probably never heard of?
Mostly.
No one that I know, aside from
you had Stallone, Jason Statham, Randy Couture, I think.
Randy Couture.
Dolph Lundgren was in it again, and I think those are the only returning ones. The rest were like,
so a couple.
Wait, as in the MMA fighter Randy Couture?
Yeah, he was in the original Expendables.
I did not know that. In Jesus Christ.
Yep, he was there. So they got
holy shit.
Some other. Oh right, Megan Fox is playing Jason Statham's, I don't know, girlfriend or something, but she's in it, and then a bunch of other people. I don't know.
Squeeze.
Yeah. So that didn't even.
Sorry,
100 million cost, 55 or 51 million earned. So yeah, that's all the ones I listed that had budgets of 100 million or more that just kind of did, So I had a little summary here.
Fair.
Let me read it.
Thanks for the assist there, John. I'll let you continue. You seem to know what I know. Yeah.
Besides John Wick, general audiences seem increasingly less interested in more repeats of the same old big-budget blockbusters. Event films like Avatar 2 or Top Gun Maverick will draw crowds due to the highly anticipated spectacle of it all. But when you dredge up these aged-out actors, like in Indy 5, Expendables 4, or The Flash, bringing back Michael Keaton, to jump back into the series that already put people off, like, Crystal Skull, some people didn't like that. Expendables, well, that's like either you like it or you don't even care. And then The Flash, DC is blowing up.
I've never seen any of those movies, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's not a winning gimmick. It's not working. And as I mentioned before, the lack of press tours didn't help. So
it's all about family, right?
What is maybe at best, here's the best that could come out of this. Low to mid-budgeted films seem to be where the money is because they don't invest a ton into it, but if it is a success, they make all their money back. They're not earning $1 billion, but it's still a modest profit. And you have your horror films in there, and then you have more grounded action films. I don't know if you call it action, it's more like sports drama, I guess. Creed 3 was made for under 100 million, and I think made like 200 something or more, maybe. So Creed 3 was successful.
What are you defining as sports drama here?
As in, it centers around a sport, and it is a drama by nature.
So a lot of wrestling biopics and that recent documentary on Aaron Hernandez. Got it.
Sure. Yeah, but
sorry,
Jonathan Majors.
You're talking to the sports guy because I was like, wait a minute, what?
You know what's funny though? Jonathan Majors was the antagonist in Creed 3, and he kind of played a jerk. I think I didn't watch it.
I forgot about that actually.
A jerk who strikes people with his fists. Anyway, moving on.
So he really went method with that role.
I mean, that's something we didn't talk about really during the last episode, just because he was still going.
It was just trial, allegations. We were waiting for the final verdict. We didn't want to be those guys assuming and not giving. We are very against misinformation, so we want to be.
I mean, I figured they were going to pull on Ezra Miller and just leave him in the role until public opinion's over.
I genuinely thought they were going to do that too. Honestly,
well, here's the difference.
I was surprised.
The difference is he was actually convicted of something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean. Well, look, where does Marvel go from here? Because
I say they just get another guy and don't talk about it.
Well, I don't think they can continue with Kang really and make it seem cohesive.
No, they said they're ending They said that it's going to end with Kang. Kang is going to be the bad guy till the end.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard mixed things about it because I've also heard people saying, "Oh, they're going to pivot to another villain."
They'll definitely pivot, but they're. Hold on, I'll find the article while you guys debate.
Because I've also heard, look, the popular theory is Doctor Doom should be the one to take over since they're also going to end with a Fantastic Four movie, and obviously Secret Wars was originally centered around Doom as being
2,000 years later.
The whole second half of the season was sort of a mess.
They created a Native American avatar, essentially, and they gave her more powers than fucking God. She beat Supreme Strange. Or
Not
Strange
good.
Supreme.
Strange Supreme. Whatever. I'm not going to spoil the final episode because these guys haven't seen it yet.
I just did, and they don't care.
Yeah. But the whole,
I will say the whole.
Eventually, I just don't have the time, man.
Don't worry, no one will get spoiled because I'm probably just going to cut this all out.
So the whole Captain Carter, how she became all-powerful thing was just ridiculous. I mean, that makes absolutely no sense based on what we've seen.
That means I can go to the bathroom.
Power so far.
Oh, he's going to the bathroom, but I was just going to say, let's
wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, let's do the.
No, we've gone off on too many tangents.
Yeah,
point is,
we really have.
Year's over. Why are we still talking?
Because we have another day.
Because we like doing this. We love talking to each other. We love Marvel and DC. However, they have issues, and we would like to help rectify them. WB and Marvel Studios, hit us up because we'd love to solve your problems for you.
Obviously, yes. Offer still on the table, Warner Brothers. $5. We take over the company. You won't regret it. That's a guarantee.
Now, deal $3 or no deal.
You're going to like the way you look. I guarantee it.
I love you for that.
And with all that being said.
So to tie it all together, to try to end on a positive note, a hopeful note, after all that's happened, the strikes, the oversaturation, the bombings, what we can hope for at best is that this change will lead people to be, at least to look for something of more substance, like not just crawl your ass to the theater to see the next new installment of whatever series just because it's the next installment. Give yourself a little bit more respect and maybe look into things a bit more, see if it's something you're really interested. Maybe they're doing that already and that's why they're watching things on streaming. Okay, I'll give you that. But in short, my takeaway is Hollywood, it's over. It's completely over. But then I went and I watched Godzilla -1 in a theater, and we are so back, man. Japan, that's it. Manga, next year, Utterly Nonsense is all about Japanese media. Let's go.
One Piece!
What? I only watch one anime a year. You can't do this.
The One Piece is real!
I'm leaving. I'm quitting the
podcast. Japanese media, so I'm going to cut it off here. With all that being said, guys,
great.
Happy
gotta go.
Step it up.
Goodbye,
Marvel,
2023.
Everything. Hey, 2024 makes sense for us, please. We clearly need it. We're all signing up because we all lost our minds at this point. Everybody, thank you for listening, and we love and appreciate you. Everybody go love and appreciate somebody today and make them smile. It means a lot. Trust me.
And be sure to enjoy all the bootleg Mickey Mouse content coming out within the next month.
If you're somehow listening to this on the 31st, the day we release it, Happy New Year. Go have fun. And if you're more than likely not listen this far or after the New Year, then hope it's a good one filled with success or something. I don't know. That's enough positivity. I can't stomach anymore. You know what? Everything sucks. Screw this.
Okay, and I hope that we all see each other next year, and I hope we all see each other next year, and I hope everyone has a really good. Everyone here, I hope you all have a really good New Year.
Fuck everyone else.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yo, I'm coming to your fucking house. I know where you fucking live. Happy New Year's!
8-bit music, play us out.
I'm gonna be over here. 8-bit music, please, please, please.